What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a former head coach, a longtime assistant coach, an outstanding mentor for young coaches in this business, and a Newport News, Virginia native, home of the 757, Anthony Solomon. Let me read a little bit about Anthony Solomon's bio, and it's don't get caught up on how long it is he's been in the business. Let's get concentrated on how successful he was at every stop he's been, including as a player. From 83 to 87, stayed at home in state, played at University of Virginia for 4 years, had 4 successful years at University of Virginia as a player. And then he was out once he graduated from University of Virginia, he decided to go into retail management. And, shortly after that, he realized what his passion really was, which was coaching. And he decided to, give a call to Coach Terry Holland at the time, saying that he wanted to get into business. He had a chance to go to Delaware as a graduate assistant back in 1988-89 year. And from there, he went on to go to Bowling Green as an assistant coach with a longtime assistant at UVA, Jim Larranaga, who's now the head coach in Miami. So he had a chance to work for him for 3 years. And then he went to Manhattan for 1 year with Fran Fraschilla. From Manhattan, he goes on to Richmond, had a chance to work with Bill Dooley for 1 year before going back home to work at University of Virginia alongside Jeff Jones from 94 to 98. And then he went down to Clemson for 2 years. So still in ACC country as a director of basketball operations with Larry Shyatt. And then he gets a call from Mike Bray. He goes with Mike Bray for his first stint from 2000 to 2003 as an assistant coach. And he lands a job as the head coach at St. Bonaventure University, where he was there for 4 years, took over a program that has had some trouble there before he even got there. So he took over there. That was a tough job. And a lot of people don't understand how tough that job was at the time that he'd taken over. And then after 4 years there, he goes to Dayton, where he's at presently now. For 1 year, had a chance to work for Brian Gregory, who's now the head coach down in South Florida. And then he goes from Dayton after that 1 year to Notre Dame. And he's at Notre Dame for 8 years. We had a chance to get to the Elite Eight, I believe, 3 times while he was at Notre Dame. They had a great run. And then he goes to Georgetown for 1 year. Every chance you get, as a kid growing up, and you saw Georgetown basketball and Coach Thompson. That was always my dream job, to try to work at Georgetown. I know it came true for him. He had a chance to work with John Thompson III. And so, daily you was seeing John Thompson Jr. He was there for a year at Georgetown. And then now, presently, he's the associate head coach at Dayton, where he spent the last 3 seasons, where they had a phenomenal year. I got a chance to watch those guys 3 or 4 times this year. Not only do they have an outstanding player, I think a lot of people forgot that he working with alongside Anthony Grant, but they had a phenomenal team, one of the best teams that I saw all year in the country. And that's saying, Anthony Grant, from when me and Anthony Solomon 3 years ago when they took the job, we actually played against each other down in Charleston, and I can remember what they were then to seeing what they are now. That staff has done a tremendous job, and I just want to say welcome to the show to a fellow 757 native and a guy who I've always looked up to in this business, Anthony Solomon. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thank you, Lamar. It's great to be here with you. Really happy for you. It appears that you're having a great time with Unmasked. And I've heard and watched a couple of your previous interviews, and you're doing a really good job. And I think what you're doing is happening at a very much a needed time. And I'm just happy to be on here today. But I'm going to correct you on one thing already. See, back then in the 80s when I was growing up, it was 804.
Okay? That's the guy. Well, I know that.
So I had to educate a couple other young people a week ago. they keep saying 757, and I tell them it's no disrespect to 757, but see, back then it wasn't as many heads back there, so we were able to keep that thing at 804. But no, it's all good. It's all good, and great to be here with you today.
And I'm gonna say this: not only where it was Hampton Roads, it's Hampton Roads today. It was the Peninsula back then. You had the Peninsula and you had Tidewater, and now it's all Hampton Roads. So yeah,
Peninsula, Tidewater, and during the basketball season, it was Peninsula District Champions, and I emphasize champions. Okay, Warwick High School. That's right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So you know what? Let's go ahead and get unmasked, man. Since we're here, you know, and this is kind of some of these questions may be two parts, so I'll kind of let you know when some of these questions come up, because you were a former head coach and you're an assistant coach, and I think you're going to be a terrific head coach again. That's my personal opinion. I'm thinking there's a lot of people in this business that feel the same way. But going back to when you first got in your business, I mean, there's no handbook to being a college coach. We all know that. Tell me about that first day, the first week, first month after things are done with human resources and orientation, especially when no one gives you direction. Tell me what's that like when you're thrown into the fight.
You referring to the assistant coach position?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to start with the graduate assistant position, Lamar, because that makes the story complete. I think sometimes, you know, when you hear the GA position, I think a lot of it depends on how you're utilized, but also how you utilize that opportunity. I was always very thankful for that opportunity to be the graduate assistant. It was at the University of Delaware. The head coach at that time was Steve Steinwittle. And I share this piece because I think it's all part of my makeup and what I've tried to give back to young people today. That opportunity to go to the University of Delaware began after I called back to UVA and spoke to Coach Holland. And you mentioned earlier about being in retail management. I knew after 5 months that wasn't for me. I called Coach Holland and said, I miss being around a team. I miss being around trying to achieve a championship. So after sharing that with him, he called me back 2 weeks later and said, there's an opportunity at the University of Delaware. You should go there and interview. And I drove to Newark, Delaware. I got the opportunity, and I was there for 1 year. But, you know, at that time, there wasn't the same type of layout. But what I do remember is, as a GA, I was asked and had a lot of responsibilities. And one of my responsibilities was we had these big televisions back during that time. And the locker room was upstairs at that time in the field house. And one day, Coach Steinwater could not make up his mind if he wanted to watch film in the locker room or on the floor. And I think he changed his mind 3 or 4 times. And I just kept rotating that television to and fro from the locker room down to the floor. But I say that just because I'm thinking at that time, and I was young, it was like within the first week of practice, I'm rotating that television. And when it was done, I'm like, that was a lot going on there. I'm tired, but it set a tone with me like, you just got to work. I put my head down, I assisted coach, and we had a good thing going. And it set me in a place that, you know, be there to serve him. My college coach helped me get that opportunity, and I just wanted to learn. And at that time, I didn't know anything other than, you know, to assist him and assist the staff. You know, we had a great staff, Dennis Felton, Larry Davis. Those were the 2 full-time assistants. So I got started with some really good examples of how to work and how to assist. And as a GA, I assisted those guys on recruiting weekends. I assisted them with mail outs. At that time, you were handwriting notes, putting them in the envelope. There was no emails, there was no text. And you had to get that thing to the mail room at a certain time to get it out as early as possible. So I just think there was a tone set for me personally to learn, but also how to assist And I had a chance to learn from some experienced guys that were doing a great job being an example for me in terms of how to be an assistant coach.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, you named some guys right there that, I mean, long time in the business, man, as assistants, and they were head coaches as well at one point. So, I mean, you named some guys. Now, we all know that recruiting is the lifeline of college athletics. You got to get good players, and you got to get good people. I mean, that's going to make you a lot of times successful. What was your best and worst recruiting story?
Okay, I'm going to go with the with the worst one first. And how about this? It was with a friend of yours, Jeff Jones. When I was, it might have been my second year, maybe it was the first year, but I'm back at my alma mater. I'm 29 years old. My 6th year in the business. I'm in the ACC at my alma mater. I got to get this thing done. I got to be great at it. We went to Toledo, Ohio. How about that? And we went to see a young man at Scott High School. Okay? And I'm going to unmask this thing when I share with you the name of the assistant coach at this high school. Huckleberry. Okay? I'm going to unmask this thing, okay? So we go to Toledo Scott High School. And, you know, he was a very good player. I'm going blank on the young man's name. He was 6'7", long, athletic. Well, we're going to meet them at the school at lunch. We get to the school, and I find out he's already made a decision. And not only am I there, I'm there with my head coach, Jeff Jones. We're out of the state of Virginia. We're in Toledo, Ohio. He's already made a decision to go elsewhere. So how about, you've been in this on this side of things. So we had to make an adjustment and about face and move on to our next destination. But I always remember that. Now on the flip side, you notice I smiled on the good and the bad. I got one for you here. This is when I was a head coach at St. Bonaventure. There was a young man named Michael Lee in West Palm Beach, Florida. And, you know, at that time, we were really trying to grow our roster and get things in place. And it was in the fall, and I got a call, and the staff was sharing information with me about looking at this young man. Then we started talking to the coach and made a decision the night before flying to West Palm Beach that I'm going to go visit, I'm going to go see him. Well, they got a workout. Something was going on with the school gym, so we couldn't get in the gym. We go to some rec center. They're in West Palm Beach. Well, I'm flying from Buffalo, New York, because I'm at St. Bonaventure. We go from Buffalo to Atlanta and get delayed. And this is my one chance to see the kid play. They're going to work out at like 3:30. And I don't think I landed until 3:30. So I get to the facility at like 4:25. And they're like, well, we're only going to go for an hour today. I said, Coach Smitty, I got to see something. I've flown from Olean, New York to Florida. I have to see Michael Lee do something. And he said, well, what do you want to see? I said, well, Coach, I can't tell you that, but I mean, does he play in the post? Does he play on the perimeter? How versatile is he? And what happened was he had the kid, Mike, tie the shoes back up and had a kid on the floor, pass him the ball into the post. He's left-handed, he's 6'8", he's a little thin, but you can see, wow, he put some weight on, looks like he's got some skills, watch out. They throw it to him in the post and on the right side facing. He gets it on the right post, he fakes middle and kind of does a little fadeaway off the block. I'm like, okay. And then he goes to the other side of the block and goes fakes baseline, goes middle with a little jump hook with his opposite hand. So he said, well, what else? I said, well, does he play on the perimeter at all? He had the kid take 3 jump shots from the free throw line, right elbow, left elbow. He was 2 for 3, but he was left-handed. He looked coordinated, okay? And the last one was this. Does he have any range? Does he have any range? I couldn't tell him what to do, but I just asked the question, right? So every time I asked the question, coach said, well, watch this. He gets him at half court, has him sprint to the top of the key, and somebody passes it to him from the wing. And that left hand at 6'8" rolls up. It was a beautiful follow through. It goes in, it hits the rim, hits the glass, but it landed softly. That's, to me, the way my mind works, it was a soft landing, okay? And after that, I said, I'm sold. I'll take him at St. Bonaventure right now. He's like, whoa, coach. You know, hey, as much as people want offers nowadays, he was a little hesitant that I came at him so quick. I'll take him right now. I'm offering him, let's do it. And he laughs to this day how quickly I made that decision. Well, Michael we ended up getting him from West Palm Beach. That's a whole nother story in terms of a kid from West Palm Beach, Florida, flying into Buffalo. And then we had a little weather issue on the ride there. I asked him to take a nap. Then we get to campus, and he ended up coming to St. Bonaventure. And the one thing I will say, he was a young man that I mentioned earlier in terms of strength, but the skills were there. And, you know, it's one of the things I learned in the profession, you know, as a head coach, I really pressed on him a lot as a freshman. And I look back on it, I probably wanted it so bad for him right away, and his body wasn't ready for it. But he ended up having a great career. I think he may have averaged like 13 and 7 for his career, played overseas. And then I only coached him 3 years. And as you mentioned, after my years at St. Bonaventure, I stayed in the A-10 and went to Dayton. And I was here with Coach Gregory at that time, and we had to go play at St. Bonaventure. And Michael Lee is now senior. And I'm sitting there saying, at least I thought I had a great eye, because he was, I mean, we had to earn that win that night on the road, but he was a beautiful basketball player with that long reach, follow through, and great versatility. And as he got stronger, the rest is history, but ended up having a great career. But I just laugh about it because I had to make a quick decision. And that's when I kind of pat myself on the back that how he turned out and the type of career he had, and was a great young man and a quality family also.
Awesome, man. Hey, sometimes they might be the best decisions. We overanalyze stuff. We can talk ourselves out of taking a kid or not.
Hey, that's right now. Hey, speaking of that, I'm used to being flying out to Peach Jam by now. This is the week of Peach Jam.
You're right about that. You're right about that. All right, look, now you were named the head coach at St. Bonaventure. You're excited. You got your own program now. This is what you work for. Get your program. Like you know what you probably thinking you know what you're gonna do, but now it's there. What happens over the next few months? Because I don't think people think about getting a job, but once they get there, it's like, okay, I got the job, and then what do I do? What was it like the next few months?
Well, that's interesting. We were a little low with our roster in terms of our numbers at that time when I took over, and got the job like late April, early May. And, the open recruiting period had ended. So really spent a lot of time having to recruit via video, because we were really down in our numbers, as I said. So we had to really work at trying to get a roster and get enough people there so that we could actually have a 5-on-5 scrimmage. But we worked through that. The other thing was just trying to get organized. I'll never forget, the first day after the press conference, we were really emphasizing myself and my family getting out into the community. And I thought that was really important. And that first day after the press conference, it was nonstop. And in Ole in New York, It was a big deal. They loved their basketball, and it was on. So really just trying to connect with the community. That was one thing. The other thing was trying to get familiar with our players, the ones that were returning. You know, I think that's where it starts. You know, I got into this business to give back and to pay it forward because I had some great high school coaches that helped me grow up in Newport News and allowed me and assisted me and get some opportunities at the University of Virginia. And then when I was at Virginia, speaking of Jeff Jones, he was the youngest guy on the staff. And that's how we became really close. He was kind of my ear in terms of being able to talk and get feedback from him. So I just wanted to really connect with our guys. And after that, putting together a staff, okay? So I've gone from community outreach to, you know, getting to know our players, and now you have to get a staff together. And it's one of the most important things I think you can do. I was able to put together a really good staff with a lot of versatility. Some experienced guys joined me in Olean, New York, and we were plugging away. But you know, the ability to put together a staff and making sure that, and now I'm speaking now from experience, in terms of being able to delegate. You know, you mentioned about, and that's probably something that I've always had on my right side that I always say, you know, in terms of preparation for the next opportunity is the ability to delegate and being able to, while delegating, knowing what to delegate and to who. And then after that, you know, moving that seat over, being able to do what you do well. Some things, and when you in that seat, you do have to give up some things, but there are some things that you do really well. Keep doing it, because Anthony Grant here at Dayton, what I've seen while working with him the last 3 years, he's fantastic. And he knows who he is and how he wants it. And he's complimented himself in a great way. And, you know, I'm still learning. And that part was really important. And I think I might have been a little too closed-minded in terms of my style of play, at least that first year, because before you know, we all have an idea of how we want to play and what we want to do, but then you also got to be very considerate and conscious and intentional about evaluating who you have at the time for that particular year in terms of your roster and what they're capable of doing. Because sometimes, you know, you can't put that circle in those square pegs, okay? But again, just the ability to really digest it. And the last thing I'll say is this. I probably needed to utilize my quiet space better, okay? And that's probably the one thing I mentioned, Anthony Grant. I think he's great at managing his days in terms of what he's got to do from his seat in the areas that he knows he's got to be consistently overseeing while delegating some other things to his staff.
Wow. It's pretty good stuff, man. We know this too. Scout reports. We know that you know, preparation. So we know that, like, you can actually have your team prepared. Like, you know, you got the calls, you got the actions. You know, guys go out there. I mean, and they go out there and, like, you still dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids, and they go out and they just somehow lay an egg. I mean, that happens. You know, or sometimes scout report, you think you know, it was okay. You thought you did a good job, but, you know, you telling the head coach, this guy he's gone 2 for his last 30. He's not. You don't make the cardinal sin of saying he's not a shooter. You just say he's struggling a little bit. You don't ever say that, because if you tell kids that a kid can't shoot, they tend to play off him a little bit more and give them shots. So, and I say that is because we all know we can tell who scouted is a lot of times by how they acted on the sideline, yelling, screaming. You guys are a little different because y'all have a calm demeanor at Dayton. But like, what was your best and worst scouting report over the years?
Well, you know, when you ask me one question, there's always a story behind my stuff. Maybe that means I've been doing it too long, okay? I'm going to go back to my early days when you say, what was my best one? And this is just kind of a way of trying to help other guys in the business. It's been something that I've kind of taken personally. I haven't spoken about it a lot, but I listen and I watch a lot. And when I got into the business, it was important. You know, people always talked about, at that time, the word loyalty was used a lot. Well, speaking of a scouting report, it was back, and I was at Manhattan College, and I was there with Fran Fraschilla. It was his first year. It was after being at Bowling Green for 3 years with Coach Larinaga. I decided to go to Manhattan College. My wife and I had been married for 1 year. She had left Jersey and moved out to Bowling Green. And then 10 months later, we're off and we're going to New York. Because at that time, I had been in the business 3 years full-time, 1 as a GA. But you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right? So
You're right.
young man from Newport News, if I'm gonna make a run in this profession, you know, I thank Coach Larinaga, and I had gained enough confidence to go to New York City. The little guy from 804/757. All right. Well, you know, when I was at Bowling Green, we recruited in New York a lot. Coach Larinaga's from the Bronx, and 1 year we had 4 kids that signed with us from New York in the metropolitan area to come out to Bowling Green, Ohio. Well, I say all that to say, I'm now at Manhattan College, and we're speaking about a scouting report, as you asked. Well, the first game, and I'm working with a new coach, and you know, it takes time to get adjusted to who you're working with. So here I go. I do a scouting report, and I'm out there presenting to the team, and Fran says, and come on, we gotta get through this. We gotta get through this. But also, I had a few too many pieces of paper. And I was always like, I had too much papers. And we got through it, and we lost the game. And I always remember, he had to correct me in the midst of the scouting report. And I'm young at that time, but I took it personal, like I didn't get it done, because I disrupted the flow of the scouting report with coach, with the team. Well, my next scout, and this is how special it was. I remember the game, Saturday afternoon, we're in the MAC, M-A-A-C, at Fairfield. Well, we go on the road afternoon on a Saturday, and we win on the road at Fairfield. We had a very good team. So again, you know, scouting reports are just tendencies, and you try to give our young men, then they got to go out there and compete. Well, we won the game. And Fran said after the game, and guys, great job. Always great to win on the road. But let's hear it for Coach Solomon. What an excellent scouting report. And what I got from that was, I was so much on a mission that the next scout coming up, I knew I was going to know it. I'm not saying we're going to make it, you know, we're going to win the game. Again, it's always about tendencies with me. How do I help the young people achieve their goal? And what we were able to do was, I thought we were in sync. But my point is this. I remember I never wanted to be viewed as just a recruiter. The title says basketball coach. So we've talked up until this time about, you know, recruiting, different stories, but now we're talking about basketball / scouting. And I always give credit to Fran for the challenge of, I want you to know it up here, and I'm pointing to my head, and then in your heart, so that when you deliver the message to the young people, they know that you've done your work and you've prepared yourself to help them. And I always remember that, because since that time, I'm pretty confident in terms of doing what I do in terms of scouting. Now, each head coach is different in terms of how they may want you to present it, but in terms of the tendencies of personnel and team tendencies, I accepted that challenge because I wanted to be well-rounded. While, as you said, the lifeblood is recruiting. Got to have your share of players now, no question. But then after you get them, I'm going to coach you, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to guide you, and we're going to prepare together. And that was the piece with the scouting report that, you got to be on your game. And I took it personal, but I think I took it personal in the right way in terms of growth and development. And I think, that was Frank, because Frank was very organized. I always remember him. He was great at having threes for everything. And I learned a lot from him, but that was something that I took from him wholeheartedly in terms of the ability to scout and help a program and a group of young people each year prepare to be the best that they can in executing a team victory.
Awesome, man. That's awesome stuff right there. What's the biggest challenge you think you've experienced since you've been a college coach?
Certainly, I have to say the head coaching position, Lamar, because Unmasked, brother, I feel like that was the one goal I didn't accomplish because I didn't get it done there. No excuses, but I didn't get it done. The one thing I can say I took from there was I'm better for it. Win-loss column, no. But in terms of how I've grown from that, in terms of learning what to do, what not to do, and just seeing the whole picture even more clear. So for that, I'm thankful for that. But that's the challenge, Lamar, because that's still a goal of mine in terms of being a head coach again. And that's just the areas I said earlier. I didn't complete the mission in terms of being able to successfully lead a basketball program. But still striving, still grinding away at it. Sometimes there's talk about, the age of this. I'm fine. And I'm just a little wiser now. And sometimes, like I try to tell some of these young people, I don't worry about the number because sometimes you may need to make 10 phone calls. I'm only gonna make 2. But I think there's some wisdom there, not to try to boast about myself. I've never operated that way, but it is a situation where it's on my mind in terms of leading the program again. And but in the meantime, be the best assistant coach that I could be. I think I'm really good at it. Guess someone could say, yeah, you've been doing it long enough, you should be good at it. But no, I've kept it all in perspective, and I've enjoyed all the run that I've had in this profession, and I've kind of touched on 4 decades of it. But so a lot of great moments. You asked about the challenge, and I said about not completing the mission at St. Bonaventure. But a lot of great stories, met a lot of great people, and this round ball has been really good to me, and really just trying to, regardless of my position, how do I help young people accomplish their goals between the lines as well as outside of the lines? Because somebody did it for me, so I'm still working at trying to give back to them as well.
Great stuff, man. And I know you're gonna get back there. That's what I feel. Do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? What are?
I won't say misunderstand. It's probably one of those that they just don't know. They just don't know. I'm not the loudest guy in the room, not the loudest guy in the gym. I told you, your questions just take me in places, from the pandemic to all the things going on in the world in terms of racial injustices. I got a lot of time to think, reflect, and there's a lot of stories being told and being unmasked, okay? But, what I like to say is it's, we're at a time where, I'm sorry, my son just walked by. Ask me that question again. He just.
No, I'm just saying, does people misunderstand it? Like, is it?
Yeah. Just quiet. But here's how I operate. Someone said about a month ago, now that you asked that question, when I'm on the road, as he said, you're cordial to everyone. You smile, you say hello, but you keep moving. So you don't stop. Now, if you go stop and sit down, or if you stand beside them, you'll talk to anyone. However, you're not one that's kind of wasting time. And where I'm going with it is this. When I got into business, there was always, you kind of get to know people when you're out on the road. That's how I got to know Fran Fischello, that Coach Larry Nigga coached me at Virginia. But Fran didn't know me, but I happened to be in New York a lot, and he was at Providence as an assistant, and we just kind of found ourselves in the gym quite a bit. And we ended up sitting beside one another. But when I go into the gym, I'm there, and I got to go there and do my job. I do my job. My job was to get there and watch and evaluate, because we say it's the lifeblood of the profession. So my young mind was, I get in the gym, I sit down, and I watch. Even to this day, I still keep a pen and a piece of paper in my hand for my notes. Now, I know we got all these phones. Well, one of my personal pet peeves is I try to not have my phone in my hand when I'm in the gym, because I don't want it to ever be that I'm on my phone and not doing my job. But I know these phones have these notes. I just did it because if I'm writing notes on my phone, while I'm writing the notes, I probably got a text or something popping up. So I try to put that off to the side. So I say all that to say, I don't know, they may hear this or think that, but I've probably not been as open that way, but it's never been anything, if you sit beside me, he's easy guy to talk to. But I don't go around and shake every hand. I may walk in the gym and just say hello, but I'm on the move. I'm in step. And, on top of that, like I say, there's been a lot of time we've all had over the last 4 months to think and reflect. We've talked about, head coaching positions. Being the way that I just described in terms of, very focused and locked into doing the job, I probably have not expanded my network to that extent in terms of maybe more decision makers, Lamar. But here's why. Again, I keep going back to, I learned at a young age, and I'm gonna go to Coach Larinaga now. When I went to Bowling Green, now I'm from Virginia, I was at Delaware as a GA. I'm out in the Midwest for the first time, Bowling Green, Ohio. But he has an East Coast background. The one thing he told me was, allow my friends to become your friends. That means grow, communicate, and grow your own relationship with them. I took that to heart. And to this day, there are 3 or 4 of his friends that we still stay in touch with to this day. And, I took that piece from him because that has helped me through the lifeblood of recruiting while in profession. I got some networking capabilities. And then I mentioned about Fran in terms of the recruiting piece, the scouting piece there. So each place I took something, but it's back to when you say, what don't they know? He always talked about networking and developing relationships, but for a lot of years while locked into doing my job, I didn't float around a lot. It was always kind of zoned in because remember this, during that time, and maybe it was my upbringing from my parents, do your job really well and let your execution and success speak for itself. And landscape's changed. Now that it's changed. We got platforms for social media and stuff, and they joke with me around here, Coach, man, we're gonna put something up on Twitter about you and stuff. I said, okay, and take a look at this, and I give them a couple of tips, and I'll say this to you, when they put something up there and they listed all these schools, I said, don't do that. That's a lot of school. It looks like a guy that just moved around. I asked him, I said, I'm all about how did I impact where I was? The ability to impact where you are. Assistant, head coach, whatever. Did you make it, was it better than it was when you got there? And that was the piece that went back to, what don't people know? I was just always so focused and locked in on being the best that I could. This job's open, that job's open. I can't think that way. I got a season that's still going on. I'm locked into this season. And I probably closed myself in more than some would say. But, now I look good on paper. I think I've had a quality career up until this point, but still not done.
I like that. Definitely not done. What do we all educators in this business, man? That's the one thing about it. You talked about, like the winning the championships and just being around guys. But like, what would you, or what have you taught your players besides just basketball? Like, what do you try to teach?
I felt that, and probably went back to my senior year in high school. I had an English teacher that challenged me in my senior year of school, high school, in terms of the ability to write better. And she challenged me every day. She told me where to sit in class because she wanted me to communicate and not be shy and sit over there in the corner or in the back of the room. She put me in the first two rows, and then she would always call on me every day because she wanted me to speak up more. And the one comment she made was, I went to see you play basketball your junior year. You are now a senior. When I see you playing between the lines, you are talking, you're running around, you are showing so much passion. You come into the classroom, you look quiet. And she said, we're going to grow your ability to write. And she would help me do that again. Think about that. She would challenge me. How can you write that better? I say all that to say this. Outside of the lines, try to educate young people. And not just with my talk, but I try to be an example for them as well. Because when that ball stops bouncing, what else do you have to give to society as a whole? And that's my paying forward. You talk about players, now, when you've been in this profession like this, that's on my heart now to try to help grow some of the other guys that are striving to make this lifestyle a profession, because, it's a challenging situation, but keeping the main thing has always been do it for the young people. Even, we all, I'm sure, have some tough stories. When things get tough for me in the profession, I've always been able to go back to, in spite of, I'm going to do it for the young people. Because one of these young people probably needs something of what I have. And, speaking of that, you talked about what people don't know about me. There's a young person from our team, a senior. young man that is a senior for us this year at Dayton. And speaking of this social media, Twitter thing they put out on me, they wrote a piece on Twitter and this kid commented. It meant a lot to me. And I never retweeted it. And someone said, well, you should retweet that. That's really what it's about. And I still haven't retweeted it yet. But to answer your question, and it meant a lot to me. And this is just recent. You know, we had a great year, great season. Matter of fact, we didn't lose in 2020. Didn't lose a game. Young man Trey Landis responded to this tweet by saying, Coach Solomon is one of the best. And then that's a period. Then he says, he helped develop. And I know when you read, he helped me develop my ball skills. He helped my jump shot. He said, he helped me develop as a man and my why.
Wow.
Help me understand my why. And the reason he said that, he's a local kid. I think it's a great story. I'm really proud of him. And he must have been doing some reflection during the pandemic and all as well. Because what had happened was we went into the season. We didn't know what his role was going to be exactly. But the challenge was you're in your hometown area. At the end of this season, all these Flyer fans, what would they say and think of you going forward for the next 40 years of your life? We challenged Trey on his leadership and his legacy. And he answered the bell. He became a starter for us after the first game. The rest is history. He was our primetime leader, captain, and played the most consistent that he had throughout his college career. And when he said, help me understand, help me grow as a man and my why, and he accepted the challenge of leadership and leaving a legacy. And there's a picture of him on senior night, which was championship night, and the last game of the season. It was a regular season game here at home for us to accomplish our feat of winning the A10 championship outright, undefeated, 29-2, 20 consecutive wins, and didn't lose a game in our conference. And there's a picture of him walking off the floor with his hand in the air saying, thank you and bye to the Dayton Flyer fans, which happened to be in his hometown area. That picture to me, and I actually got a picture of it. It's my pinned Twitter page. We said we pin it, so it's the first thing on my Twitter page. That's meant so much to me. And I think that's what I've tried to be about. I've tried to be about the young people and be about impacting, winning where I'm working at the time. And when I leave, as I try to tell some other guys that talk about it in the business, when you leave, have them miss you. And speaking on that front, Lamar, you know, you was talking about my background, and you went through this list of schools. I know you, it was at a point where you was like, that's a lot of schools, where twice you said second stint. And what my dad said before he passed was, you must have really done something special. You left Notre Dame after 3, had a head job for 4, you went to Dayton for 1, and they asked you to come back for a second time. Because a lot of times he would say, people say, I hope we can work together again sometime. Maybe we can do that again. Does it happen? What happened to me was something that he was really proud of me for. And then, as you said earlier, my first stint at Dayton, well, now I'm here for a second stint in my 3rd season here, and what a season it was. but with the different head coach, that being Anthony Grant.
Yeah, that speaks volumes of who you are and what you've done and the impact you've had on people. What qualities did or do you look for in hiring assistant coaches?
I'm not afraid to say this word. I don't hear it as much as I used to, Lamar. Loyalty. I need you loyal. Okay? Got to be loyal. I think it starts there because, it's one thing to be the assistant and you can have suggestions to and from, but at the end of the day, when you walk out of that meeting after you've had some give and take, and when the head coach says, this is where we're going, this is the direction, open that door, walk out, and be ready to help assist with the mission, okay? The other thing is persistence. I think there's a certain level of persistence you need in terms of, recruiting, persistent in terms of helping young people grow and develop between the lines as well as outside the lines. And then I include a certain level of patience too. I think a lot of times we all want to be a head coach, but while you're trying to reach that particular goal, you got to keep in mind, you got to be patient, but while you're working towards it, make sure you're preparing yourself to be in that seat, because I think that gets lost in it. The other thing is versatility, okay? And I'm just being real and unmasked, as you asked me to be. I'm gonna say versatile and well-rounded. I go back to Bowling Green, relationship building, helps with recruiting, helps with you knowing how to do business around your campus. Then I'm gonna go to the scouting piece with Fran, the story I shared with you there, okay? I didn't want to be labeled. I know the lifeblood is recruiting, but there's more to me than just being a recruiter. Bring you in. I want you to do this, and do that, okay? Because I got the opportunity to do that at a young age, and I'm better for it, okay? But the ability to be versatile, I think it goes a long way if you want to sustain and have consistency and longevity in the profession. I think you got to diversify your game. You got to be able to develop different pieces of your game. And again, depending on where you are in your career, but the ability to be more than just a recruiter, because I think that's a dangerous thing, because when you're not doing that, and again, you got to put a lot of time in recruiting. I just think you need to bring more to the table than just that. I think that's gotten lost in our profession sometime. I watch a lot, Lamar. I'm always watching. My mouth may not be moving, I may not be talking, but I'm watching because I think, and one of my tips is someone's always watching you. So as you want to be an assistant, you want to do this, you want to do that, keep in mind that you're being watched, but also work on your game to be more than just a piece of it. Be conscious of doing it. And, my time at Clemson, I was 10 years in the business. I was a Dobo at Clemson for 2 years. And that was after being in the business for 10 years. And that piece right there was special to me. One, I wasn't on the road recruiting at that time. Daughter was 2, Cam was 6 months old. So I did all the administrative stuff. I went to administrative meetings. I was in charge of travel. And how about this? My first trip was to Maui. But again, I accepted the challenge. I got this coach that's title is administrative assistant for Clemson basketball, but been coaching for 10 years. I knew they wanted to know if he could handle this role. My first trip was Maui. I prepared daily for that opportunity to know how to get a bus, get the bus there on time, get the bus to take us to the airport, get the plane tickets to get the planes to get all the way to Maui. Then when you get to Maui, you got a 45-minute trip over to the hotel with the way it operates. Do all that it encompasses and get back from Maui, and was able to do it. And the head coach was the first 2 years was when I was there was Larry Shire's first 2 years. And I was thankful that I was able to remain in the ACC at that time. And I was in transition after my time at Virginia, so I got a chance to do that. But I was at every practice, and I called it, I was on the outside looking into the forest and in the trees. I saw every practice, and I was able to hear, listen, and I wasn't on the road, but I learned another piece of the profession. So that's why I get into the piece about versatility, loyalty, persistent, versatility in your game. And then really, I wanted to have a feel for basketball. And that's part of the versatility. You know, find your niche, try to become really great at something so that you're an asset that when you're not there, they miss you. Okay, man, that guy was really good at that. He was really good at that. What are you leaving when you're not there? Even when you go on the road, I miss it because he wasn't there. But, you know, development piece, that's a part of it. Ability to put together a scouting report, a feel in the game. I'll throw this at you. You know, there's a lot of talk. You said it earlier. You commented about, man, you're pretty cool on the bench, or y'all not too active on the bench. Well, when I was younger, I called it, I was emotional on the bench. But as I started spending my time and I started wanting to get closer to being in that head coaching seat, I didn't want to be a roller coaster because I always have to be thinking about what's the next play. And too much emotion would get lost. Now, there's a couple, you know, this is just my way of communicating and being with the young people. You know, I jump up out of my seat sometime, but as the player say, Coach, we got you out of your seat. I said, there's a few things that can get me out of my seat now. All right, but you got to do that. And if you do it one time, that don't get me out of your seat. There's special things I'm talking about you doing. Get me out of, you got to be consistent at it. You got to do it more than 1 or 2 times. When you start doing certain things for 4, and when you get to 5, you get me out of my seat. Okay, so just try to have fun with it. But it's there's a lot that comes with it. But all those things, you know, as I share with you in use terms of what am I looking for in an assistant, it encompasses all of that. And I guess the way to just be versatile. You know, we talk about the versatility of basketball. Try to be versatile as a coach, because at the end of the day, it involves people. And I need you to be able to communicate. Okay, and that was the 5th thing I put down there, the ability to communicate, not only with the players, I'm talking about with every player. I need you to be able to communicate on campus. I need you to communicate with administration and certainly with the staff that you're working with on a daily basis. And as I like to say, and our team did it this year. And I've been on a couple of staffs over the years. But our team this year, we were a great example of, we made us and we way more important than I and me. And we have to be the example as a staff. So what am I looking for? Come on in here with me. But we're going to do this thing as us and we, and not I and me.
Great stuff right there, man. Wow. What was your first practice like? Now you've been head coach. What was your first practice like? And then what was that first game when you're finally in control of your program?
The first practice was too long. It was too long. I know it. Because I didn't want to move. I had the scout report. I got my practice plan. And I wanted, every time I went down the practice plan, I didn't want to go, the horn's blowing, I got this clock, I'm all organized. I got the clock, 10 minutes, bang, give me 2 minutes, 2 minutes, bang, give me 3 more minutes. Now I'm at 15, bang. I've gone like 3 different segments, we're an hour into practice. Too long. You can't get it all done every day, but you got to be ready to see it, and you get back to it the next day. So that was the thing. Too long. I know that. Now the first game at home against Robert Morris, I'll never forget it. My parents all came out. My brothers and sisters. I had a couple of friends that surprised me, and we won the game. And they gave me a game ball and everything. But what I remember was, after that basketball game, I've never been that tired before, ever. My feet were sore. I knew from there I got to find the right shoes to be on this sideline as a head coach. And along with the feeling of being exhausted and tired, the next morning I woke up, it was different from being an assistant. It was different, okay? And this goes along with you talking earlier about, you know, that seat when you move over, and, you know, after that game, you celebrate, you're happy for it, but you're on to the next play. That next morning, it's another day. What's the next game? How do we go about today? Because once you say, I do, your life changes. From being an assistant to the head coach, it changes right away, because every decision overseeing the program comes to on your table, on your plate, on your desk. But that's the one thing I always remember, that first practice, too long, and the first game, how exhausting it was. But I always, you know, would love to do it again, but it's one of those experiences that you get better from.
And what did you have to give up to achieve your current level of success?
Well, I think when you say success or change, there's always some level of sacrifice. But I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me, because it's I'm enjoying this ride. And you notice I didn't say I enjoyed the ride. I said I'm enjoying. This is active. This is still ongoing. Okay. My thing is, I was on a Zoom call yesterday with some young people and their wives. It's kind of a marriage type couples Zoom call. And, you know, when you say, what did you have to give up? And during that call, someone made a comment that, you know, you've had 2 daughters that have gone to college, and you got another son that's going to be a senior in high school. You have survived it. I said, I don't look at it that way. So when you say, what did I give up? Now, once the girls went to college, one played basketball and the other one played soccer for 2 years. I missed that when they left home, okay? But when they were around, I missed some games in high school. I missed some of their travel events. But I tried to always, 2 of my favorite words is balance and consistency, okay? You know, there's certain things that are said sometime in the profession that I don't always agree with. You know, you can't do this because of this. You can't do this, you know, and I've worked with some great guys. I've learned a lot. But, you know, when you say sacrifice, you know, my faith in my family has always been important to me. And I was conscious of not sacrificing those very much at all. My family's been a big part of this. My faith has kept us all going. Been married now, it'll be 29 years this August. Wife Tracy, I call her my MVP of all time, my best recruit of all time. I get these kids sometimes. I say, you know, my best recruit. Who is it, Coach? I say my wife. It's like, oh, boo. Even though the moms love it. Okay, but no, it's and then you know the balance piece I think has helped me being able to sustain and maintain a certain level of consistency or longevity. I pat myself on the back for this. I am, you know, like I said, I've had a lot of time to think here lately. 31 consecutive years. That's, I didn't have that sabbatical year. And thank God, you know, I'm very grateful and thankful for that. But just the ability to keep it in perspective, but keep some balance. But that doesn't mean you're not working hard. That don't mean you're not working hard. Just got to balance. I got to balance my time. I got to balance my days. And there's some times when everyone goes to sleep and I'm still up a little later. Yes. But I never looked at it as, no, I can't. Nope, you can't. No, you can't. No, yes, you can. Yes, I can. Because I got my values. I got it in perspective. And I got my core things that can allow me and my family to do this, this, and that, while also knowing I have to do that. But again, it starts, like I said, you know, Tracy's been a great coach's wife who's helped me with all of this. And, you know, I got my responsibilities on the job and to be a provider, but also I have responsibilities to be a dad. And I don't want anyone to say, you know, well, you don't have to do it. No, that's expected of me too. And that's part of that balance piece. And wanted to be an example for the young people that I coach, and certainly as young people, my kids and my family, to do the same.
Great, man. That's great. Great. I'm sitting there, I'm listening to you, man. A lot of young people, I hope they are listening the same way as you're dropping some great knowledge on them. This might make you laugh a little bit because it usually happens. Like, what is the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
The strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court in my time in the profession. I don't know if I can answer that one. I don't know if that's, yeah, hey, I'm laughing, but I'm not sure that's safe. I'm not sure that was safe, Lamar.
I've heard some stories. They never give names, but I've heard some stories though. That's interesting.
Look at you there. You say you heard some story, but they didn't give names, huh?
They don't give names. Some of them have given names, which I was shocked.
No, in terms of giving a name, I'm not giving a name. You caught me with that. I'm pretty good at anticipating in these interviews, but you, one of the strangest. I just put it this way. I had a young man to say, and I know you saying, oh, little Solomon, he ain't got no good story. I'm gonna share this one, no name, but no, it was pretty quick. It was just a young man that was trying to create other opportunities for himself financially. And he was trying to actually go and provide for family and all. And he just said, I'm gonna do it this way. And I found out what he was doing. And while he was doing it, he was wearing the attire of the school. He was wearing the attire while doing his activity. And when I asked, I said, you're doing that? He said, yeah. And you're doing it that way? Yeah. I said, well, when you're doing it, did you have that on? He said, yeah. I said, okay, give me 1 minute. I got up out of my seat. I sprinted to find someone else to help me book a plane ticket to get him out of town. Was out of town so fast, administration didn't know. By the time I told administration, the kid was gone. Oh, we're good, we're good. That was strange, but real. Is that okay?
That's good. It's good.
And I kept it so generic, you don't know which way it was, okay? I've been to the places. You ain't got time to research that.
It's still a good story, though. It's still a good story. What movie, and this kind of throw you a little bit too, what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
Best describe my week? You mean now or just in general?
In general. Because I know now the pandemic is easier to answer, like, stuff going on. I've heard some of those. But like, what's a normal, like, week? It's coaching, it's, you got the family. Like, what's the best movie or TV show that kind of describes you or your week?
I tell you, I've been a TV guy. There's what they call it now. Everybody got these shows. For some reason, I've not gotten into it. I'm probably too much into my sports. For my kids, they've been active when they were here at home. The girls were 2 sport athletes in high school. And then now our son does baseball and basketball. And when I'm home, I feel like I'm doing that. Besides that, I'm working. But Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite movies. Okay. The other one is Trading Places. Okay. I go back with Trading Places. Okay. Because that piece to me just kind of Trading Places. I'm about, how you're coming up and then how do you grow? And then that foundation goes with you. That foundation means something now because we all bring with us whatever that foundation is. And then it can shape you. Then you got to try to grow and branch from where you started. But those are 2 movies that way. I'm a big Denzel Washington fan. And, I tell you, when you start talking about movies with me now and, with everything that's going on in the world in terms of racial injustices, and you got the pandemic, during the season, I didn't watch a lot of movies. In the off season, my wife and I would watch movies. But I tell you, what's on my mind right now, Lamar, is history. I'm trying to keep my days balanced, but there's a part of me that I'm probably, I guess to say I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't know my history as well as I thought. And when we heard about the early 1900s with the massacre in Oklahoma, I didn't know that until 3-4 weeks ago. So when you talk about, I'm finding myself now looking at different movies for gaining knowledge on my history, because that piece, history, it can carry a lot of places and it helps you connect the dots. So I'm really into just history readings right now, movies, just to keep learning. But there's a part of it, and what's something that we've taken a big part in it. We've committed to this, being led by Coach Grant and all, is that, education. We're trying to educate our young people with some history lessons right now, and then giving them a platform and a softer landing place to speak about what they're seeing, because there's a lot going on right now, and As one kid said, Coach, I don't need to look at television. It's on my phone. It's all on social media. So again, got to keep up with the young people, but I want to be able to provide something for them. We've tried to keep them engaged. We tried to allow dialogue and platforms for them to talk and communicate. So, but can't say a big movie guy, but Trading Places has always stuck with me for sure. And then Shawshank Redemption was always a good one for me. And then I'm a Denzel Washington fan. And some people say I look like him as I grow my beard here, okay? Now I'm trying to get the walk down. But no, all's good. All's good.
Great answers, man. What's your favorite word or phrase? You've been in the business for a while, so you might have one. What's your favorite word or phrase?
Okay. I'm going to give you a couple. Is he right today? Is he right? No, he ain't right today. Is he right today? No, he's not right today. Oh, he's right today. He's good. He's good to go. Is he right? And when I'm saying that, I'm like, is he right? I point up here, and then I point to the heart. Is he right up there? Got to stay right. Because if you ain't right there, it's hard to be good at what you're trying to get done. Okay? So that's kind of one of my phrases. Is he right? And then I've always said, if he's not right, again, it's about the young people and just trying to pour into them enough to keep them right. Got to keep them right to do what we all said we want to do. So while we got all this going on here, I got to do this basketball, got to keep them right here and here now. Okay? And the other thing is this, I give my wife credit for this. This is before we were married. It was actually, my wife's from South Jersey. I was a GA at Delaware. It was 60 minutes from Newark, Delaware to her front doorstep off of exit 4 in South Jersey. Okay? Turnpike exit 4. Well, after that year at Delaware, I decided to go to Bowling Green. And before leaving, we had been dating for quite a while. But we weren't engaged, and I wasn't ready to get married, but I'm going out to the Midwest. So you got mom, dad, sister, everyone beginning to say, well, and what's this guy doing? Well, after going there for a semester, we did get engaged and got married a year and a half later. But it was all about just, I had to get right myself, knowing that I was ready to make that decision. Well, with that being said, I got to the point where I had to, I lost my train of thought there a second. Somebody walked past me again. What was you was asking me, you were asking me, Lamar, about
favorite word or phrase. You say your second.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Favorite word or phrase is the phrase that my wife gave me. It was a scripture verse, and I call it my lifelong scripture verse. Isaiah 40:31. She gave me this verse on a card that said Anthony, and in quotes it said priceless. But the scripture verse is what has stayed with me, because the verse Isaiah 40:31 states, they that mount up on wings of eagles will not get tired and not get faint. And that verse sustains me. And I think about it a lot right now with everything we got going on. Think about it, the time in the profession, with everything we got going on. We must continue on. And if you put your hope in the Lord, you'll rise up. You won't get tired. You won't get faint. And that's kind of, that sustains me. That's part of my faith walk in terms of utilizing that to keep going. But my wife gave me that verse with the card. I still keep it in my wallet to this day. And she would have given me that in 1989. And I've kept it in my wallet, but I know that verse, Isaiah 40:31, to this day. But it means something to me, and it keeps me going. And I've even said it to our young people, because right now with all this talk about reform, And people get tired. The pandemic, we're closed in, you can't this, can't that. But for change, we can't get tired. We can't get faint for change. And we just got to lean on each other that way. And that taught me a lot. It's meant a lot. And she's been one. And I asked her during the pandemic, why did you give me that? She said, I thought it was neat. Your name was on there, it said priceless. But I said, what has sustained me is that verse on it, Isaiah 40:31. So that's kind of my two phrases or verses that keep me going.
Awesome. Awesome. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I'm going to say two things, Lamar. One would be work hard and be consistent at it. And then the other one is allow your faith to allow your faith to help you doing the good and the bad. Because when you're faithful, be thankful for what you have. And when things get hard, lean on it heavily because it will sustain you through the bad.
That's great stuff, man. That's actually great stuff. Then I'm gonna ask you this, or when you get another shot at being a head coach, because I think that's gonna happen, are there any changes you would make from the type of staff, style of play? I think you mentioned a little bit earlier, and the type of players from your last program. We all know that depends on where you get the head job.
Yes, sir.
It could be an academic situation. It could be anything. But like, what would you what changes would you make?
Well, I think it starts with what you said. It depends on where. That determines a lot. I think where, who is your team makeup when you first get started. But I want to somewhat, it's a tricky dynamic. I want to go in ready to put in place what I believe in on how I want to play and what I want to do, but be open-minded to knowing that you may not can do it right away. Don't be stubborn that I got my system, this is the way I want to do it, I believe in this. But who is your X and who your O determines what you can do from day one to year two, that type of thing. So just really being able to, and as I said earlier, certainly being able to delegate and being able to, while delegating, some of the things that I'm really comfortable at doing, continuing to do it and not, because you're the head coach, not do some of those things. I enjoy working with young people, development piece, just because I'm a head coach, not do that. That was kind of my way of connecting with young people when working them out, because you kind of get to push them, find out what makes them tick, but also you got a chance to encourage them. That basketball can connect you and not be one where I'm kind of on the outside looking in when it's Coach Pierce at Atlanta Hawks said this a while back in April. I was listening to one of his clinics about sweat equity. And just because I'm a head coach, I still want to be able to sweat with them a little bit, just to keep that connection going with them that way. But certainly, your staff's really important to be able to balance that. I joke sometime now about, you talk about your staff. Who do you want it? I want an assistant like me. I want an assistant like me. I've been doing it so long. I'm set on my ways on what I think a good assistant coach is. But just want some versatility, guys that know how to work well together, be a team player, but be consistent at working hard and being able to share among your staff and being able to give back to the players, because, you don't trick young people. Okay, they're out there now. Their eyes and ears are open, and I think right now, more than ever, Lamar, they've gained even more confidence with their voice. And you got to put together a staff that knows, um, following my lead, but knows and cares about connecting with them between the lines, but just as important outside the lines, because they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. I'm a big believer in it. I think it's real, because when they feel you, and you can get into the soul of it, and on some of those nights, you look them in the eye and they look you in the eye, no words need to be said. But that sweat equity over time, and they know what they know and you know, it's amazing what can happen. And I'm speaking from just experiences. I get emotional about it, I get passionate about it, because when those lights come on some nights and you guys are hooked arm in arm, players and staff, I'm talking about everybody, down to the managers. And we got great managers here at Dayton. I include them. There's been several other places. We've had committed managers. You know how nowadays they're big and running on off the floor. They're the first one to be able to get there. I mean, they're running over us in practice some days. Somebody falls on the floor, the kid's right there with a towel.
Mm.
But it's all of that. And the other piece, you talk about it, and I'm speaking solely because I'm watching it. From our president here at Dayton, to our athletic director here at Dayton, to Coach Grant. It's a powerful threesome. They are locking arms. They're on the same page. I see it, I watch it. I know it when I see it. And it's a beautiful thing to see how lock and step they are together. So team, staff, but also your head coach with your AD and your president. And that's fresh in memory, because I've been able to see it here the last 3 years with how we've been able to grow our program and grow the culture that Coach Grant set out to grow 3 years ago. And everyone talks about this season, but it was a combination of 3 seasons in the making. And that culture piece that, words thrown around, we try to define it as attitudes and behaviors that we live by on a daily basis, okay? And therefore, we see that from each other on a daily basis, and we execute that. And we lived it out in a big time way this past season, even without March Madness, because it's hard to go undefeated in your conference.
So true, man. Like, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your young or younger self to be prepared for this business? Assistant coach, head coach.
Prepare. Prepare yourself to be versatile and be well-rounded. Don't just be a recruiter, be a coach. Be a leader for young people, be a mentor, and stretch yourself out there. And I may have commented to you earlier, Lamar, in terms of when I say stretch yourself out there, I got into it at a young age, and I was moving quite a bit, and I just kept locking in, and I probably didn't stretch myself out my first 3 or 4 years as much as I needed to in all facets of the business. Because again, it's that recruit. You gotta do that. But on your free time, your odd time, go study something over here on the side. Study something else over there. You see what I'm saying? And back to that versatility piece. Be more than just a recruiter. Be able to do multiple things, but start it earlier. And the other thing is this. You know how I said, I walk into a place, I'm so locked in, I got to go evaluate. I probably didn't open myself, not to be, look at me, but I probably didn't stretch myself out enough to allow people in more, okay? My first year on the road, I wrote notes to everyone I met that summer. handwritten notes. Hey, Bob, nice to see you on the road. First time on the road for me. Nice to meet you. I must have wrote 60 note cards that year. But you know, people love seeing their name. And all of those people, whether they responded back or not, I didn't care. They remembered my name because I wrote them a note. Okay? So that's about that relationship piece, networking piece. And here's the key, Lamar. You know, we've talked about networking. I know I didn't reach out to a lot of administrators. Okay? And those are the ones that are making decisions in the profession for who's head coaches. And now we got another layer. Now we got search firms. So now I've gone from administrators. Now I got to get to know people in the search firms so they can get to know you. So that's a big piece if you're trying to really elevate your way up, because you know you got to allow people to get to know you. But again, I was taught, let your work do your talking, and they'll find you. That's not accurate anymore. So you probably got to, because we got all these platforms, you got to branch out there a little bit more and allow yourself to be seen per se, but you know, try to do it in a real way without being too noticeable that way. But you know, I got some friends that have been great supporters of what I do, how I've done it, and we'll see from there. But you asked about how to help other coaches. Yeah, stretch yourself out there personally, even when you're not asked to do it. Even if whatever your responsibilities on the staff, still study it on your own. Study on your own and value winning. Winning travels.
Great stuff, man. Well, I want to thank you again, Anthony, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything you want to leave with the viewers before we go?
Yeah, I'll just leave some real quick, Jamar. You know, like I said, I've touched on 4 decades in this profession, but no way am I tired, nor weary. And I say that because this pandemic, along with everything that's going on with the racial injustices and the need for reform, we got to keep going. We can't get weary, we can't get tired. And when you need a little break, take a break, but also have your group of people that you can lean on that keep you going, because we got some work to do in the profession. We got some work to do out here in the world as a whole, but we got to stay with it, because there are some good people out here. And then there's also a piece that, you know, we got to try to help some people change. And, you know, one thing I've been really intentional about is really being conscious of young people. You know, there's a lot of talk and platforms out there. I'm really conscious of our players. You know, even when the season didn't complete, we were 29-2, sitting on the number 1 seed. It took me 2 weeks to really sit there myself and say, what just happened? Because I wanted to make sure our players were okay. So right now, with everything we got going on, how are our players right now? I think that's a big part of being a coach, assistant coach, head coach, being a leader. Think about the young people, because they're watching us, and we got to stay a step ahead of them in helping them grow and develop, so that, because this is not about just us. This is about our kids, their kids. This is generational stuff right now that we got to try to impact and make a difference with, because it's one thing to say to parents, you know, I'm here, I'm going to give everything I can to the young people. But some of this going on now, this ain't got nothing to do with basketball, but it has something to do with basketball, because when we do get back together, our young people are watching us right now. How is coach handling this? What's coach saying? Because there's a lot of talk. How is he handling? But at the end of the day, it don't have to be for show. Because one of our players said, coach, some of the stuff I'm reading, is that real by what this guy's saying, or is that for show? So that's why I say, you know, we got to be authentic. That's one thing. Then we got to listen with some intent and try to do it as a unit with some love. And then my last piece of it is equals change/sacrifice. because for change to take place, everybody had to make some sacrifices through some of this, because it's not easy, but something that's great to happen never comes easy. So you got to put in the time and work, and a lot of times some sacrifices are going to be needed to be made by more than just one. Okay. But again, Jamar, it's been great. Thanks for having me on, and you stay safe.
Hey man, well I appreciate that all the knowledge today, and especially that last nuggets you dropped. I want to thank you viewers for watching another great show, and stay tuned for the next guests as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.